Howdy again, it's Mr. Pete, and the topic of this video is Tubalcain's new compressor. Well, this is my old compressor, and this was given to me about 10 years ago. It's a Sears 1.5 horse, and it served me well, and it still runs fine, but the bottom of the tank has rusted through. Probably partly my fault and the previous owners, because this thing is about 40 years old approximately. Twin cylinder, it's really ruggedly built. And I'm going to salvage the motor off of it. Of course, I could take it apart probably and weld up the bottom, but I'm sure once I weld the hole, new holes will appear because it's got to be rotted out and rusted out from the moisture in the tank over the years. So I'm just giving up on it and saving that nice 1.5 horse capacitor start motor. For dramatic effect, I was going to show you how much water is still in that tank. So I put a catch pan under there, and I took the cock entirely out of there, petcock, and there's not a drop of water in there. That surprises the heck out of me, but nevertheless, if I had a plasma cutter, I would cut out the entire bottom of that real quickly just to see what it looks like, but I'm certainly not going to do it with my Sawzall. So enough said about the old Craftsman. I'm a bit ashamed, but guess where I bought my new compressor? Whoops. That doesn't belong on there. Yes, they opened the new Harbor Freight store about 25 miles from here, and over I went. And I saw they had an ad. They ran a big ad in all the papers. You know, they're opening a new store about every week someplace in the U.S. But they had these on sale for $139, so I thought, great. I got one of their ubiquitous coupons, so that'll knock 20 bucks off. But guess what? Take it up to the counter. Oh, no, that's excluded. We can't honor a coupon on that. That's already too low of a price. I about walked out of there until my buddy calmed me down and said, you're not going to find it any cheaper. But so then I get up to the register, and of course she wants to sell me, there were two different plans. One I think was 20 bucks, insurance plans, and I turned that down, and I told her, then I was having a little fun with her. I said, you know that everything in your entire store is a throwaway. You know that, don't you? And she kind of laughed and nodded her head yes. And of course, they give you some stupid little trinket. So I got one of those. Or you can get a set of their screwdrivers, which are excellent, excellent paint stirrers. But anyway, ta-da! I don't know if I've ever seen anything as well packed as this was. Just in a clamshell of foam. And it's 10 gallon. It does have oil in it. I didn't want one of those oil free, and I went through all of their compressors, and they got about a dozen of them, and every one said 120 decibels. Now, how do they all happen to be 120? Well, they aren't, but that's what they said. So I know this is going to be a screamer, but the oilless ones are really screamers. And in fact, this one isn't really any louder than my Craftsman, and that surprised me. But it's still pretty darn loud, don't get me wrong. And you know what? It holds air. It's still got a full head of steam in it, and it's been 2 weeks since I charged it or had it on. So I think it's going to be a pretty serviceable unit, although we'll see how long it lasts. Couple things I don't like. Let me show them to you. I do not like the idea that the axles do not go all the way through. Similar to the way a lawnmower is made, they're just a bolt. And I thought, boy, that's not right at all. But when I examined the Craftsman, that's the way it is built as well. And it served me well and never did fail. But of course they put cheesy little wheels on there compared to these, but then again you get what you pay for. And it holds about a pint of oil. I do like this handle that's right on the end. That's pretty awesome to help you move it around. These are rather nice rubber bumpers here on the legs. I do like that. But while they're at it, why couldn't they have manufactured it so it sat level? Or is it so that the water runs toward the petcock, which is kind of under there where I just stuck the ruler? Who knows what they're thinking? I do rather like the controls. There's a switch right here, a regulator, and the coupler, believe it or not, fits my fittings, which I think is a style M. Got a pop-off valve, safety valve right here. Fairly heavy cord. I'm not sure what gauge it is, but it seems to be okay. However, I think I will save all of the fittings and switches and everything off the old Craftsman just as a backup. All right, let's watch it kick in. It's at about 90 now, so I'll blow off some of there. Pretty loud, but I don't think any louder than the Craftsman. And it did truly go off at 125, so they had it set correctly from the factory. I do not believe the 2.5 horsepower. You see outrageous claims like that on vacuum cleaners and many other products, and that are for sale for the home use, and it's just not true. You can't get 2.5 horsepower out of number 14 wire, which is a 15 amp breaker that most all houses have for their outlets. So some electrical engineer can explain that to me in the comments, but I think that is hogwash. And here's a good example. Here's my shop vac that I bought at a garage sale, and it says peak horsepower 4 horsepower. How can that be? Some assembly was required. I had to put the handle on and the wheels and the air cleaner. It came with a pretty decent little set of instructions here. They were just on the handle, as well as a manual, which of course no one will read, but it had all the safety deals in there. Now there's an on and off switch right here. Let me get that in the frame. On and off switch right here, and it does say in the directions here to turn the switch off to release any remaining pressure before starting it up. So I believe that's also an unloader valve. This gauge is for the pressure in the tank. This is the regulated pressure of the outlet right here. And did I mention that it says to check the oil every time you use it? Well, I'm so sure. Let's take a look at the cords. This is the cord off of the old Craftsman. Look at the diameter of that thing. I don't know what gauge it is, but it's rubber and it's flexible as well as the day it was born, the day it was made. But look at the flimsy little cord in comparison that came on the new compressor, and it's plastic. And you know how unruly these plastic cords are. The orange ones that you get as extension cords, you know, they just are not supple compared to a rubber cord. But that's what you're going to find really on just about any product except super premium. This is where you add the oil, and there is a sight glass right down here. And the red button is the reset button. There's also a pretty decent set of instructions right on the side panel here, and then the specifications down here, warning label, and so on. So overall, a pretty nice unit. Okay, the jury is still out on this thing, and I do not use a lot of compressed air as far as air tools are concerned, and I know they can really eat up the air, but this is going to be small capacity, certainly would not be suitable for an operation such as sandblasting, which uses just a terrific amount of air, and as well as air wrenches. But most all of my tools are electric tools, but I do use compressor mainly for blowing things off. cleaning things up. And I think it's going to be just fine, and I'm happy with this so far. But I wasn't happy with this, but I suppose if I had read the fine print, if I would have had a magnifying glass with me to read the fine prints, perhaps that explained it all, but I didn't read that. I went off half-cocked, so sorry, Harbor Freight. And then for those of you that are mad at me for buying an import, I did look at other compressors, at other stores, and all of theirs were also made overseas. So I'm not sure that these home-size ones are available made in America. I really don't know. My research was not that exhaustive, but I would tend to think that they're all imports. And I don't really like buying imported stuff, but sometimes that's what you have to do. So enough of my ranting here. This is Tubalcain saying so long for now, and I'll see you in my next video.